Hello, everyone. Welcome to what is usually Snap Take, but we have another Snap Pals chat. Today, I am joined by the most successful player deserving of more Snap fame. This is ElitexHassa, who is a player who regularly hits rank 500, which, as you know, often puts him in bot hell, but he is an absolutely stellar, top notch player. What we're going to do today is we're going to take a look at as many top players Iron Lad decks on day one as possible. We're going to look at, I want to say, like 11 different Iron Lad decks, talk about what's in them, how to play them. Hasa's going to explain to us how a top player would look at these decks. How you doing, Hasa?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing?
I'm great. I've had most of the day off, so I'm pretty happy.
Cannot say the same. I'm like 6 games deep into Iron Lad and basically basing everything I have on what I've seen on Twitter.
So fair enough. I mean, look, if we're gonna theory craft, we should theory craft with one of the best
Exactly.
players, right? Like, I have since I've been home, I played an absolute ton of these decks all day, and I've watched a bunch of top players on Twitch as I was doing so. So I've got at least, you know, a little bit of experience, all things considered, with the card.
Curse the 4 a.m. UK time release of, of Iron Lad and my workday.
Definitely stayed up till 2 in the morning playing last night too. All right. Let's start with Safety's obvious deck. The deck that you've all seen conquering the meta was originally a Safety Blade creation. Similar deck also made on Canvas Discord, but originally a Safety creation. Safety went and updated it. He literally the whole update is remove Shang-Chi, insert Iron Lad. How do you feel about this?
I mean, it's considered at the moment by a lot of people to be the best deck in the game, and you cut what people consider to be the worst card. I mean, like with the Dark Hulk meta we've got at the moment, Enchantress is often just the same as Shang-Chi anyway, but with 3 extra stats, and you just cut that and you're an Iron Lad. The deck's just better.
So do you think Nebula belongs in this? Because like I don't want to copy a Nebula with the lad.
Yeah, that is. I mean, the Nebula was already like what's it called? Data mine as a 4/6 originally, and that was like a fair like okay, this card's not that exciting. And as soon as we realized she was going to be a 1/1, it's like okay, Nebula's back on. Nebula's just fantastic now, and I think you wouldn't. The power of Nebula is worth the slight downside of maybe hitting her with Iron Lad because there's not many other 1 drops that you'd be okay hitting Iron Lad with. Maybe like Iceman.
How about Nightcrawler? Like go back to the
Nightcrawler is
original
is a
Nightcrawler.
is a spicy pick, especially with
Movable
the
four
mile. It does
six.
have the miles, and a movable 4/6 is quite powerful. But you know what's better than a movable 4/6? A movable 4/6 that can't be stopped.
But that's already here. That's already here. Um,
That's quite a fair point.
I definitely beat a Doom earlier today because I iron ladded a Jeff and was just like, and you go over here now. Thank you.
Personally, I think Nebula on 1 is going to give you a much better start to the game than Nightcrawler on 1. And the reason you run Nebula in deck is to play Nebula on 1. And if you get that, then you can't hit her off Iron Lad. So
Fair enough. You know what would make this better? Then America Chavez. Please don't play America Chavez in this deck. All right. Any other thoughts about this, or is this still the best deck in the game?
I think, especially because it's basically just an existing strong deck with one change. It's any deck that we already know is good is going to be good into a new meta because people know how to play it. Um, it's already it's already established as powerful, so you don't really need to do any testing with it. You just kind of run it, and it's good. And yeah, I think it's still just a solid option.
Okay. I think there might be a couple things that are slightly better now, just because Iron Lad is so strong, and I think there are like at least two meh hits in this deck, like mediocre hits, and I guess
Yeah,
three mediocre hits, right? Like you don't want to hit Spider Man, Nebula, or Stature, and like some of the others are very conditional. Right.
yeah. I think overall, like the general opinion of the lad is 3 bad hits is still fine with so many good hits. Like you hit Darkhawk, you hit Black Ball, you hit Rockslide, the game's over.
It's fair. It's very fair. You hit Rock Slide and you just played a free Rock Slide, right? Like it's like,
Yeah,
hey, I have two
you
Rock
just played a
Slides.
Rockslide. It's like you put Rockslides as 2 off in any Darkhawk deck.
Yeah,
Yeah, easily.
yeah, 100%. All right. It's just I think that the like super high roll of this is really just Darkhawk and I guess sort of Zabu, right? Like a sudden surprise Zabu is pretty freaking good. But like since the high roll is largely Darkhawk, I think there might be decks that like start to catch up to this.
We already had enough of Zabu reducing cards by 2. I don't want to go through that again.
Oh, yes, you do. So what I do in Zabu decks, sorry, this is going to come up. Actually, let's save that for later because it's going to come up because Zabu's going to be in a lot of these decks. Uh,
Not surprising.
all right. Next up, we have two Lamby decks. I love Thanos. The first one is sort of just a lane control deck that's running a Darkhawk package because Darkhawk packages are good, and then it uses Iron Lad. What do you think of this deck? Do you like it? Do you not like it?
I think, as with any Thanos deck, it looks super weird in the collection screen because you just cannot see those stones. If you add the 6 stones, it looks normal, but this just looks like, what are you playing on turn 1? But yeah, the Thanos holds a special place in my heart, being the first deck I really broke through with the Lockjaw Thanos. And I think this is just, I mean, Iron Lad is just the perfect card to fit into this list. Any of the stones are just value 4/6 cards. Professor X, Devil Dino. Again, it's running Darkhawk Zabu. How can you make a bad deck running Darkhawk Zabu? The Super Scroll is the most interesting option. And I think, Lamby obviously knows what he's doing.
So I messaged Lamby and was like, "Why is Super Scroll not just Korg?" And he was like, "Because I always win the mirror now." And I was like, "All right, I guess that's a reason, right?" Like it's.
Yeah, that
Uh,
is quite the reason.
yeah. But like your Darkhawk, unless you're Iron Ladding it, kind of sucks unless you like go off, right? Like it's really hard to ensure Darkhawk and Rockslide without some other shenanigans.
Yeah, Thanos decks are always going to be more inconsistent in terms of running 2 or 3 card combos. That's the reason Thanos decks tend to just be good cards with a slight amount of, Spider-Man, Professor X just kind of fits naturally. Time
Yeah.
Stone into Professor X is still a force to be reckoned with, especially now Jeff exists, so you can't actually lose the lane ever.
I
And
mean, so I lost that earlier. I guess it wasn't even, it was like earlier this week because I had my Jeff on the board when I did it, and they had a last turn Jeff that had gotten hit by the thing that gives all locations +2, and it was enough to put them over the top of my Jeff. And I was like, you son of a. But yeah, you can trust me. If you try hard enough, you can still lose that. um, I this deck is strong. I don't think this deck is going to be meta. Agree? Disagree?
yeah, the more I like, it's so hard to evaluate a deck without playing it, especially a Thanos deck, because you don't really know how the curve goes with an 18
Mhm.
card starting deck. I personally, I would be hesitant on the Darkhawk package and just go for the more standard control Thanos with stuff like Polaris and Daredevil, um, just natural fits that give like, I mean, Daredevil in Thanos is kind of becoming like, I've seen it run quite a bit since Thanos released, and it just helps with the Professor X and the Spider Man and just general placement of cards on turn 5 to try and beat your opponent on turn 6.
Yeah, because you have so many options, I think that extra information ends up having a lot of extra value.
Yeah, I agree with that completely.
Lamby, being Lamby, has a second build. Um,
Uh,
I like this one an awful lot more.
oh, Lockjaw Thanos. It's my specialty.
It's not just Lockjaw Thanos, it's Lockjaw Thanos plus all the nonsense.
I see it's got all the ongoing. I mean, every single hit with Iron Lad is just insane.
Yep.
Except
Well,
Wasp, but
Wasp, except Wasp.
like every single hit here is. I mean, it's a deck that is just kind of fine because running Lockjaw Thanos and hitting big stuff is always going to be good. But again, like, this is just such a natural fit for Iron Lad. I really like Iron Man, not just for the Iron Man, Iron Lad kind of theme, but also I think a 4/6 Iron Man is just a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, a 412 that then doubles anything else there seems good. Um, how does this deck survive Enchantress?
Everything has ongoing. Just like
That's
you
what I was
only have
looking
one
for.
Enchantress.
That's the answer I was looking for. Yep. If the whole deck is ongoing and Enchantress takes out one lane, you're like, all right, well, I guess I'm just gonna have to win these other two.
You just win the other lane. This is not
Yeah.
that it's simple.
This
Also,
deck is so
Professor
dumb.
X, like Professor X, is just the unenchantressable ongoing card.
It is
Kind of.
100% enchantressable if they drop it in the exact spot at the exact right time.
Yeah, but it never happens. The
No,
claw is like the spiciest one, and this is a deck where I feel like when optimizing, I feel like Doom is just the most solid option in any Iron Lad deck. I couldn't cut Doom in any of the lists I came up with for Iron Lad. I know I haven't played the card much yet due to working constraints, but I feel like Doom is just such a fit into any Iron Lad deck.
Claw's basically poor man's Doom here, right? Except he can be doubled by Onslaught. Like, they're very similar
Double by
cards.
Onslaught goes into the Prof X lane. Is like slight
Yeah.
buzz, upside downside.
I generally agree. I think this is the exception. Also, I'm a big Claw fan. Claw was like my second ever Infinite when I started putting him in ramp decks when no one else was, and I was just like, oh, no one expects this. This is 8 cubes like every game.
Yeah, the Claw is, especially in the games that are released, was known as the 8 cube card because you just never play around Claw. No one ever plays around Claw.
I don't. Yeah, let's do Claw meta. I could see this deck becoming a meta deck. I could like much more than the last version because it's got like Professor X, Lockjaw, Devil Dino, Iron Man, Iron Lad, and Thanos are all like super high power cards, and everything else complementing them is just crazy strong.
Apart from Lockjaw as well, this runs every unnerfed card from the original Thanos list.
Yep.
Yep,
sure does.
The Devil Dino, the Chargers.
Quinjet. Oh, unnerfed card, you're right. Yeah.
All the unnerfed stuff. It's like all the good stuff. It's all the leftover stuff that they haven't touched.
And then it was just like, and what makes sense with Iron Lad on top of that? Yeah.
You just put new cards in, and they try and pick it back by nerfing the deck again. Just unstoppable.
Yeah, Thanos is the best. All right, let's keep going because we got a lot of decks to get through. We've got Sir Lul's Big Hand. I played a lot of this. Holy shit. Holy shit is the only thing I can say about this deck because holy shit.
I feel like I built almost this exact same list. Wait, hang on. No. I haven't really checked much on the Darkhawk Dino list. I have Armor and Iron Man over Coulson, and I don't think I run Sarah. But this looks solid. Like
it's got one bad hit, and every other hit is sort of nuts.
One bad hit question mark.
Well, Quinjet's a bad hit, right?
Yeah, double Quinjet. Double Quinjet makes everything cheaper.
I mean, then on turn 5, you're moon girling, and you're just like, wee. Yeah, I guess I could see it.
My hand's free. Yeah, nice. Coulson generates 2 cost 4 drops at that point. Like it. You go
mother
Quinjet on
no.
5. She doesn't seem that bad.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Mystique, which is the question mark.
There we
because
go.
You have to have played. I mean, if you go Zabu into Iron Lad on 3 into hitting Mystique, you kind of you don't lose that. You don't lose that ever. You just have pre-nerf Darkhawk. Like
I did that 2 or 3 times. I to the point where I'm just like, can I try and build that old code deco list?
Well, you have pre-nerf Darkhawk, but with 8 power on the board instead of 2. That's actually broken.
Yes, it is. It's also like, so a lot of times if I don't have anything crazy like if I Zabu and I'm like, I don't really want to drop Darkhawk early because dropping Darkhawk early is terrifying in the current meta, right? I'll just Darkhawk and Zabu into Mystique and be like, all right, let's just see how the rest of this game goes. Turns out really well.
I mean, yeah, like Doom is the card that I think is like you probably don't play Doom on 6 very often, but if you hit Doom off Iron Lad, that's just a cube.
I mean, hey, if you Iron Lad into Sarah, you could Doom on 6. The 4-cost Doom also, right? Like,
yeah, you could hit Mystique on 5 as well to copy the Sarah, and you just got a free
hand.
Yeah.
I mean, like, look, there's ways to just Doom and be like, my last turn of the game is Doom and Darkhawk, which just is.
Here comes the ultimate copium. Sif Ghost Rider Helicarrier.
Okay,
I'll play it just because it's funny.
you play it in bot hell. You should.
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't lose cubes. They can play bad decks.
Uh, look, that Hella deck's not bad. It's just so like inconsistent. All right, let's keep going. Moyen, apparently the best tournament player in the game, built this. This and the last deck are the two I've had most success with so far. This is silly.
Jubilee is just. I just want to put Jubilee in every deck with Iron Lad, the same as Doom. Like,
4/6 Jubilee seems good.
Yeah, 4/6 Jubilee. You could just hit Jubilee into Lad, and that's 2 cards. That's like
Mhm.
you get 1 card out of the deck permanently, and then you get your next card. Your next card. I just look at the hits. They're all fine. None of the. It isn't like an all-in Iron Lad deck. They're all just
No.
great. Like they're all just extra stats on top of what you're already playing.
Yeah. You said something about changing Mr. Fantastic when we started talking about this. What did you think Mr. Fantastic might want to be?
I don't know.
Me neither. That's why I said to wait until we did it now.
Yeah,
Me neither.
I'm guessing.
It was probably just Doom,
Yeah,
right?
probably just Doom, yeah.
So, I mean, Iron Lad as a 4/10 by copying Mr. Fantastic is not bad, right?
It is quite good, yeah. It's what's the it's like Better Living Tribunal.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. It's
I mean that's hard to compare it to. I mean, Living Tribunal is going to be a card that exists in the game.
so I think this deck is basically a better version of the meta deck.
That's I could see either one coming out on top. I think the fact that the list run Shang-Chi and it cut Shang-Chi means that this Shuri version could definitely. I mean, there's no answer to Shuri Black Bolt, right? And Iron Lad could just be a 4/6 Shuri as well.
Yep, which is
And
something that happened.
Iron Lad hitting stuff like Shuri is that you want to play Shuri on turn 4, and if you play Iron Lad and it hits Shuri, you haven't drawn the Shuri yet. So it's kind of like going 1 card in your deck deeper, the same as Jubilee. It's actually really, really good for that, in my opinion, in decks like this. Same with Professor X or Spider-Man. Because you just get to get that extra card deeper.
Earlier today, I went Zabu into Iron Lad, Shuri into Rock Slide, into another Shuri, into like Jeff or something. And I was just like, yeah, I win. Thanks. That was fun. Thanks for coming.
Just free cubes.
Yeah.
The leader is definitely the talk of the town in this deck, though.
Yeah. I mean, it's just you're ahead from whatever BS you did, win the game, right? Like it's what it used to be.
But it's also just a roll from the Lad. It's just a straight roll. It's just whatever your opponent did, but +6 power on turn 4.
Yep. That's insane. That's so good. And like you'll know
with being able to know what's in your deck, you'll just be able to play this on 6 sometimes and like almost guaranteed leader or something. Rock Slide maybe, like what if like leader, Rock Slide, and Darkhawk's in your deck? Or maybe like leader, Darkhawk, and Jubilee. And you just kind of Iron Lad just kind of doesn't miss, and you could play it alongside Jeff.
Yeah. So okay. So this should be out by the time that this video goes live. Planning on posting this Wednesday. Hi, Wednesday people. The Snap Fan tier list is up at this point. And we talked about it on the podcast. And the A+ tier deck was the safety deck that we talked about first, with or without Iron Lad, right? Either version. And then the only there were A minuses, but the every other A was just Darkhawk decks that you put Darkhawk in. Hang on. Darkhawk deck. You're gonna see some more as we go. Like Darkhawk is the most Iron Lad might be the most insane thing as of today, but Darkhawk is nutty, right? Like every Darkhawk deck wins so much.
And there's one card, one piece of glue holding all of that together, and it's the unkillable Zavu. You cannot nerf. Zavu is the most broken card they've ever released, and then they nerfed him, and he's still just somehow in every list. Because it turns out 4-drops are just great right now.
So, but are they great? And this is the question. We're not gonna have time to get to this, I don't think, today. Like, let's do another one of these where we literally talk about this subject. Or 4-drop's great if Zabu no longer exists.
I mean, it's hard to look at it, because playing a 4-drop on 3 is such a big deal.
Yep.
And playing 2 4-drops on 6 is an even bigger deal without Sarah.
Yeah.
And playing 3 4-drops on 6 with a Sarah is an even bigger deal.
Oh, legitimately, people playing against this deck that are having trouble, start using your Enchantress. Don't save your Enchantress for Darkhawk. Start using your Enchantress on Zabu early. Thank me later.
It's just that Zabu is just the eternal
Mhm.
snap card.
But hey, would you like to put Zabu and Darkhawk into Doomwave? Because WWLOS did, and was just like, let's throw Iron Lad and everything else in it. And then he immediately hit Infinite with this deck. I've got one card I don't get at all in this deck, and otherwise this deck is amazing.
What's the one card?
The hell is Nightcrawler doing here? Why do I care about Nightcrawler?
I can't answer
that. Right? Like,
it's just
he's cool with Iron Lad.
Yeah, he's cool with Iron Lad. There's no lane control. Like, you're probably better off just running Iceman, because even Iron Lad into Iceman is just a second Iceman.
Or just throw a Storm in.
Yeah, then the Storm justifies the Nightcrawler.
But then you have Jeff, Dr. Doom, and like Iron Lad to try and win that lane anyway. Yeah. You don't need Nightcrawler at that point. Like, unless you're running Miles, and we're not running Miles, I don't get the... Like, Polaris is just powerful. Jeff is just powerful. I don't get Nightcrawler.
I think it's super underrated as well at the moment to be able to Storm and then just throw a Darkhawk and just have that Darkhawk be immune to Enchantress for the rest of the game. Like, you just kind of win the lane.
Yep. If I've read that the opponent is playing a Darkhawk deck, I often just play Enchantress in that lane and YOLO it. Just like, all right, let's see if I get the free lane. More often than you think.
Yeah, it's a great option.
So what I like a lot about this deck is it doesn't have to try and do the wave thing. It can just be like, I'm just going to play a straight up Darkhawk and then drop a Doom on or Leader on your face last turn and win.
It's really hard to call any deck with Iron Lad, Darkhawk, Zabu, and Rockslide and Korg a bad deck, isn't it?
And this is a mishmash of like what I think are the two best decks, right? Like, it just took the two best decks and said, you make love, have a baby.
It's like pick the five good cards and then just put good stuff in.
At least it's not Stature and Black Bolt, which are in like half of these other lists.
So yeah, it's also fair, yeah.
Like, we've clearly identified the best packages in the game at this point, right? Like, it's like, all right, so we've got the Darkhawk package, we've got the Doomwave package, we've got double She-Hulk packages, we've got Stature, Black Bolt, and we have this like little lower move package, and sometimes Death. That's it, right? That's everything?
Yeah.
Also, just occurred to me, Deathwave has been a minus-ish deck. I bet you Iron Lad not being a Deathwave makes it a lot less popular.
Oh yeah, everyone's just gonna be running the Iron Lad decks day one. Any content creator. I mean, how do you not run Iron Lad day one as a content creator? I've been hyped on this card. I've been more hyped on this card for High Evolutionary, partly because it releases sooner. Like, it released sooner, but mostly because it's just so exciting in terms of it was so exciting to just think of like, what could we do with Iron Lad? What's the, because the High Evo decks, honestly, I'm so excited for High Evo, and everyone should be. The card's going to be fantastic, but it's a lot easier to see what that deck would look like.
Yeah,
like, it kind of, obviously, Zabu and Darkhawk stuff goes in every Iron Lad deck, but it's a lot more. I find it a lot more interesting to try and optimize the potential of Iron Lad over, like, High Evolutionary is a deck that's going to be strong, but it's going to be a deck that has to run 6 or 7 cards throughout every list.
Yeah, I could see that. And it's also a deck that's totally turned off by an ill-timed Luke Cage, right?
Yeah, it's also true.
It seems like a bad thing.
It's like, it's one of those cards where it's the reason I didn't end up getting cards like Stegron and Snowguard. But Iron Lad's just the perfect card of, what's the funniest thing we can do with this? What's the absolute most hilarious thing we can do with Iron Lad on day one?
Please don't say Galactus.
Do you have a Galactus deck lined up?
No, I did a whole video on it yesterday. We know it's there. I'm not. I refuse to talk about Galactus every single day.
Yeah.
Galactus is getting nerfed. You know that, right?
I do not know that.
Iron Lad is getting Galactus nerfed.
Iron Lad doesn't get Iron Lad nerfed. That's
Iron Lad has to get Iron Lad stats nerfed, right? There's no way this can be a 4-6.
4/6. This even a bit strong.
Like when it copies Darkhawk, it's 6 base stats on top of whatever Darkhawk does.
That's not even the best roll. That's the worst bit.
Yeah, well, it's not even the best roll in this deck we're looking at right now.
It's like Iron Lad is like a cheaper and stronger version of good cards. It's like, oh, Doom?
Yes.
What about Doom but a 4/6?
Yes.
Leader? What about Leader but a 4/6?
This is insane. All right. So, I remember what you wanted. I remember what you wanted for Mr. Fantastic. Do you remember what you wanted? Do you want me to say it?
Oh, it's Leech, isn't it?
It's Leech. It's Leech.
I just remembered Leech.
Leech is gonna be so stupid with Iron Lad. Holy shit.
It's like, yeah, on the one hand, you draw a dead card. You draw a 5/3 Leech. But you also get a 4/6 Leech. And that's a lot better than a 5/3 Leech. It's kind of
on
like
turn 4.
That, your next draw is just not a draw.
That's bonkers. That's completely insane.
Yeah, and I think Leech turning off some of the biggest... I mean, like, if you go back to all of the decks that we think are going to be strong, especially the Stature Black Bolt deck, or the Stature Black Bolt decks, Stature gets turned off by Leech. All the Darkhawk stuff gets turned off by Leech. Enchantress, Spider-Man get turned off by Leech. Like, there's so many hits for Leech. And decks like this tend to have a very strong turn 6.
Welcome back to the Leech meta. All right, we will come back to that in a minute. Because, hey, if
it turns out to be bad, it turns out to be bad. But I'm trying it.
So Den came up with his favorite version of the Doom Wave, and you'll never guess what cards are in it. But Den is apparently a jerk. No offense, Den. You seem like a lovely person. You see what card he freaking added?
Yeah, it's like Leech, but different.
Yeah, just a 4/6 Sandman sometimes, because why not?
Because then you just play like a good card and then Doom and say, okay.
Yeah, I could play Death Wave, or I could just do suddenly surprising Sandman. Like, this is so insane. This deck is insane. Also probably wants Leech, but I don't know how to fit it.
And you can Sandman on turn 4 with Wave, but you not only play a 5/3 Sandman, but you also give your opponent access to their highest cost card in hand. Which I think, like, that's the kind of I know I just talked about it a lot, but it's the kind of big downside with Wave into Sandman is that you lose so much tempo.
Yeah, I don't think you ever make that play with this deck.
No, I don't think so either.
Like, I think Wave is a turn 5 play after Zabu, or like you can occasionally wave into a Doom.
Electro Sandman is pushing it in terms of like playing bad statted cards with good effects. But the Wave Sandman is definitely like a big no-no.
But that's the real power of Iron Lad, right? Like, it's that he takes all these bad statted cards with good effects and says, but what if they were a 4/6, and if you had Zabu out a 3/6?
Yeah.
Oh my god, can you imagine that Sandman on 3 with the Iron Lad?
Oh no, don't even. Sandman on 3 used to be a real deck, because Sandman was a 4/1 and used to be
I remember. This is silly.
Deck was like super slept on before the Sandman buff.
Yeah, that's very fair. You know what's really good, though? That, like, Nebula is completely freaking insane in this deck. Like, Nebula's always great. I'm not pretending Nebula's a bad card, right? But in this version of the deck, there's like 4 ways to make Nebula better.
I mean, take back ourselves to a month ago. What would be in the Nebula spot?
Iceman, right?
Sunspot. Nebula.
Sunspot. You're right. Yeah.
Storm. It just gains stats for free.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, Sunspot. Oh, but just gross. Just gross. All right. Also,
different 1/1 with the gains stats.
Also notable, after Storm, if you Iron Lad into Nebula, that seems like a good combo.
Yeah, it's basically like the old Nebula.
Yeah, and you've Stormed, so you won that
the 4/6 Nebula that was data mined.
Yeah, but you then win that location, right? Because Storm and Iron Lad have won you that location with that Nebula that you're never playing.
Yeah, it's a 4/10.
Yeah, then on turn 5 you wave. Yep. Yeah, really. Turn 5 you wave, and then you play Doom and She-Hulk and have a nice day. All right. This is I love Shad, one of my favorite deck builders in the game. This is genuinely just like not my favorite version, but I respect Shad enough to assume that if she built it, it's going to be really good. Shad and Kawa made this deck. What do you think of it?
Where Professor X?
Right? How do you play this deck and not Professor X? Also, is it not just better if you just chuck a couple of ongoings?
Yeah, I think I'd have to speak to Cower and Chad about the Invisible Woman and the reason for inclusion. I assume it's Enchantress counter because any deck wanting to like Patriot, for example, can run Invisible Woman for that same reason. We'll get onto that later, I'm sure.
Yeah, shouldn't. Yeah, I guess this can't
like
run Destroyer because of Iron Lad. You know what this should be running? You know what card this needs? Even above Professor X. You ready? Orca. Orca.
Oh,
Orca belongs in this list.
Pile, yeah.
Doesn't Orca belong in this list like completely? Like you get the fake out with the Warpath and everything?
I was actually considering putting Orca in the Hella deck I'm going to play on stream tonight. The one that just slots in Iron Lad as a good card, and it's like, if I played Orca in my deck, where would I play my Iron Lad? Would I play it onto cards in case I got Odin, or would I play it in case I got Orca into an empty lane? I don't know.
I'm gonna watch that stream, is what I do know. So, we're gonna tell them where to find the stream. It's just because I'm an idiot and didn't say this at the start. Your info is totally gonna be in the description. Yeah, and like also in addition to it being in the description of this video, like I'm gonna tweet this shit out of it because you gotta watch him. You gotta watch Hassa play. He's awesome.
I might retweet it. I might not.
If you don't feel like it, I mean, you didn't retweet my video today, so what are you gonna do? It's like, oh, it's the perfect you deck. It's Iron Lad Galactus. He'll definitely retweet this. He's like, ignored. Get out of here.
Yes, I was nowhere important.
All right. Ordinary Harry's Sarah Lad.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to mention as well about the Shad Cower list.
Mm-hmm.
I do think the idea of like Iron Lad fits into this deck fantastically. By the way, like it is a great fit. There's so many good hits, and I think I'm definitely going to try out a version of ongoing with maybe a couple replacements. I think this deck has big potential. It's maybe not going to be the flashiest deck. It's not going to be the laughing at Iron Lad pulling the most ridiculous stuff. But I think it's a fine option, and it's good for. It runs a lot of cards that if Iron Lad's the only pull 5 card you picked up, and the rest of the stuff you've got is pull 2, and yeah, this is just a pull 2 deck with Iron Lad in, which I think is great for people who Iron Lad is the only card they've purchased in the token shop.
Well, she's Invisible is pull 3, but everyone else is pull 1 or 2. But like, I don't think Invisible Woman is terribly important in this deck.
I think it seems to be a replaceable card.
Yeah. Well, it's trying to say Cosmo Invisible Woman, so.
Yeah. I do like the idea of Invisible Woman to counter Enchantress. One thing I'll say on Invisible Woman is you get Polaris and you are very sad.
I mean, Polaris is in every freaking deck.
Sadly, that is the truth. Yeah. What happened to how did Miles get in every deck? We went from no Miles to Jeff release to every deck running Miles.
I mean, it's same thing for Black Bolt, right? Miles and Black Bolt are cards that needed to be changed, and then one card, and it's like, never mind, thanks though.
I remember I got a few chuckles for buying Day 1 Stature, and I do not regret buying Day 1 Stature.
No, time has proven you right. Yeah. Also, hey, second dinner, you're doing buffs? Make Black Bolt a 5/9. You want to help balance the meta? Put Shang-Chi back as an answer, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's one of like it's a buff, but wait.
Yeah, I mean, it's why you can't play Rescue, right?
Well,
unless you're playing Professor X on top of it.
Play Rescue.
I think Rescue Professor X is a good play.
Just play a Tuma though. I mean, I guess it's less like you can't play it with other cards unless you have armor. But
yeah, it's
just a better card than Rescue in that deck. I am a big fan.
I think it depends on the deck.
I used to play this a lot back in the.
I mean, you could also rescue Iron Man, right? You can rescue Iron Lad, which gets you Iron Man, and then you play another Iron Man.
Iron Man for the maximum Iron boys. And
You know, and their pet cat, Zabu.
you certainly could.
I think I'm actually building that deck as soon as we get off the air. All right, let's talk about whatever the hell this is. This is fairly similar to things we looked at, right? Except it's not bothering with wave. It's just like, you know what? I'll have 3, 4, 6s in one lane. Enjoy my 18 power.
Yeah, like the Brood hit is just vile. The Brood is the card where it's like, this is probably the least playable of all the cards outside of the Iron Lad nuts. But, and I've thought about this a lot, right? You know, when you play Iron Lad, obviously it depends on your deck size what the odds are of getting a specific card. But on average, over the course of thousands of games, isn't it just like a 1 out of 11 of what card you're going to hit? Over,
yes.
Like you have an even chance hitting
depending on if you run America, yes.
Yeah, that's also true. Yeah, it's never going to hit America.
1 out of 10 if you run America.
In deck. So like 1 in 10 times you're just hitting Brood, and it's like, okay, beat that.
Thanks for that. Yeah, thanks for that lane. Bye.
18 power. Shang-Chi doesn't do anything. Nothing. It's actually an uncounterable 18 power.
I mean, you could throw Cosmo down before the Iron Lad is your best bet. Yes, it is basically uncounterable.
Yeah.
Oh, Magneto is decent against it.
Yeah, yeah. Although Magneto dragging 18 powers,
it's not good for. No, it's not good for Magneto.
Magneto's losing that battle.
Magneto just sits there sad, like, oh, hi, Iron Lad. Never mind. Does this have anything else really cool? No, I think the spice is the Brood. Otherwise, it's fairly similar to what we've seen 1,000 times now. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the only thing that's going to keep Zabu's play rate in like a reasonable state is the fact that Iron Lad costs 6k tokens. Although, I mean, I think Zabu's already in like just the bonkers amount of play rate.
I've got this hot take. You ready for my hot take?
I'm ready for the hot take.
So everyone's complaining that High Evolutionary is a big bad, and it is the single card in the game I'm least annoyed as a big bad. Because when you buy High Evolutionary, you get like 7 new cards.
Yeah,
I don't mind them making you.
Wait, what's the card that like actually is Cyclops is an actual unplayable card that now has an effect.
Yeah. No, like it's not one card, right? It's 7 new cards that you can put in different combinations into a variety of decks. I don't mind them making us pay for that.
Also has 7 new cards.
Hard to say. It's very hard to say.
Yeah, there's only 2 other. There's only 2 other.
Three. Don't forget Kang, just because he's terrible. Yeah, I hate Kang. I'm so sad about Kang. So now that I hit Infinite with Ghost, Kang is the card I regret buying. But like, yeah, I think if you're getting 7 cards, them saying, hey, sorry, you always have to pay for this isn't the end of the world. Is it worse for the player base? Absolutely.
Yeah,
but like
any card costing like more for longer is worse for the player base.
But like, it's 7 new cards. Like, Iron Lad is probably stronger than High Evolutionary, right? Like, just I think it's probably overall better.
Terrified to say that I was more excited for Iron Lad than High Evolutionary.
He's just better. Like unless they nerf Zabu and Darkhawk, he's just better. And Doom and God, there's so many things. You'd have to nerf half the game or nerf Iron Lad.
The real question is, does Zabu find the way into High Evolutionary decks?
Yes. Why not? Right?
You get a 3/7 and you're Wong for the hazmat.
He's a 3/7, and then you throw the thing in, and he's a 3/6 that's giving -2 to 2 places. Is that what he does?
Yeah, he gives 1 card -1, and then he repeats it twice. So it doesn't.
So he's a 3/9.
Yeah,
6 with Zabu, right? Like, cool. I've got a 3/7 and a 3/9 in my deck. I played enough Surfer to know that those are good stat lines.
I wonder if the Iron Lad also finds a way into the High Evolutionary deck.
I mean, you might as well at that point, right? Like, what is the downside? You don't want to hit Evolutionary, but you hit everything else. There's like, I don't know why you play decks without Iron Lad right now if you have Iron Lad.
It does seem to be the spicy option that's just good stats with an effect you already put in your deck.
So like double She-Hulk, I guess probably doesn't run Iron Lad because it's running a bunch of 1s that you don't really want to copy. But everything else kind of does. I've got it in my Surfer.
I don't see running, and I'll play it Like, obviously, I'll play every deck running Iron Lad to test it. I don't think MODOK ever finds a way of running Iron Lad.
So people are running it right now. I think that's wrong. And
Yeah,
Deathwave doesn't want it, right?
I think it's more correct fun. I think it's more correct with the Helicarrier version because you get to play the second MODOK to discard all the Helicarrier stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's somehow more correct. But then you're just like absolutely putting more bad cards in.
Look, I spent half of my morning for no reason playing a double Morbius Moon Girl collector deck. No idea why. I was like, I've got this new amazingly powerful card. Let's play something terrible. That's what we should do with our time.
I think as soon as people figure out that when you play Iron Lad and it hits Dracula, your Dracula doesn't gain 6 stats. It resets, right? Like I'm not misremembering. I mean, it works the same way.
No, you're correct. You're 100% correct.
That's how I would assume it would work because it just sets. It says this has its power. That's actually the exact text. It's weird text. They should just say set this power like that.
All right. Next up, the next
I just keep seeing like where are the changes? We've got Korg, Zavu, Darkhawk, Rock.
This one's got Master Mold and Rodent. Look, everything's running the same 7 cards, and then it's like, what 3 cards can we put on top of it? This is the only deck in the game that I want to run that I can't because I refuse to spend 6K on Master Mold.
I took the bullet on that one.
Did you?
I did.
Only deck in the whole game I want to run, but I can't. This deck seems so strong.
It was like it won a tournament before. Dara won a tournament with it, but that's I tried the deck and I'm convinced that Dara won the tournament because he's Dara.
Yep, agreed.
And not that the deck was
but
that
it's
strong
got
at the time, but it's getting better. Iron Lad makes the deck better.
I mean, I think the deck is crazy strong. I don't think this necessarily wants Enchantress because like Enchantress on top of all of these cards is terrifying, right?
Yeah, you do very much have to be careful of where you put your Iron Lad down.
Yeah, I mean,
you don't want
I'll never understand why it doesn't run Maximus, but whatever. I guess because it doesn't want to Iron Lad a Maximus and just give them cards at random.
Well, bust the Ronin, but yeah, it's generally bad to give your opponent cards on turns 3 and 4.
Yeah, I get it. It's just all right, whatever. I don't think I'd run Enchantress here.
For Iron Lad, right? Because the deck it had to run Maximus.
No, it wasn't Maximus. There was never a Maximus here. Yeah, look, I think I don't remember. Shang, no?
Oh, it must have been.
No, because Enchantress wasn't in this. I don't know. Whatever. Just run Jeff. We're missing Jeff. Jeff is in all these decks. Run a Jeff. You're never sad to have a Jeff.
Yeah. Let's make decks that literally like 20 people can run.
Yeah, whatever. We're 2 of the 20. It's fine. Actually, I can't run Master Mold. I'm not even 2 of the 20 in this. But yeah, this deck is sweet, and I want to play it. And you should play this on stream so I can watch you play it and be envious.
Yeah, I'll hit Sarah every time for my Iron Lad. Sarah into Sarah. Oh wow.
All right, we've got one more deck, and I'm sorry I'm rushing a little bit. Well, hang on. The reason I'm rushing straight up is you've got a stream, and we cannot keep your loyal viewers. Yeah, we can't keep your loyal viewers waiting. This is your deck. This is the elite deck. I have this in my deck builder right now to play. I have 1 real suggestion for this deck, maybe 2, but definitely 1.
I think the maybe suggestion is like putting Ultron back in, right?
No, it's my maybe suggestion is putting Onslaught in.
Ooh. Oh,
because I think
hitting Onslaught. I did think about this.
Seems like it would be good, right?
Yeah, it would certainly be quite good.
I don't know what to cut for that is my problem because the change I think I definitely want to make is I think Shocker should be what's his dumb name? Super Skrull.
Yeah, a Super Skrull is like I always say when I play Patriot, like run Super Skrull over Shocker. I don't run Super Skrull because I face a lot of bots, and bots don't tend to run very good ongoing cards. And a lot of the decks, I mean, Darkhawk is quite prevalent now, so Super Skrull is actually a real option. But before, when I was running Patriot, I just never faced ongoing decks, even against real players. And there just wasn't a fit for Skrull in the deck because he just wasn't doing anything any of the time.
Well, let me tell you. Have you seen all these decks? This is the first deck we've looked at without Darkhawk. First one?
If you could put Darkhawk in this deck.
I mean, like, you probably could. But it's the first deck we've looked at without Darkhawk. It's got, like, half of these decks are running Sarah, too. The others are running Iron Man. Feels like Super Skrull might be a good shout. Just saying.
Yeah, it's certainly yeah, especially with the Iron Man. Super Scroll is certainly a shout. Um, especially yeah, the
And
shot on
then you've got
Windows.
to fit Zabu because now you have 2 4s.
Yeah, that's true. And then you have to fit Darkhold because obviously if you're running Zabu, you have to.
And now we have Rock Slide. And hey, oh my God, look what we just ended up with.
Yeah, that's how you get there. The
Yeah.
Patriot deck though, I think Ultron cut is still in contention because obviously if you hit Ultron off of Iron Lad, you probably lose. But
Yeah.
that doesn't happen. It's happened the same amount of times as you hitting Brood, and that auto wins. And
So
Ultron
I
can
also
win
think
games.
without Ultron, you may want Misty to be Squirrel Girl.
Yes, I was thinking about this because you do need a way to swarm. No, I
Hmm.
was thinking Mysterio because I like Mysterio more.
I like Mysterio too, but then you can't last turn Blue Marvel and Mysterio, right? Which is always my
Yeah,
problem.
that is true. Yeah. The one like question mark card is Invisible Woman over Cosmo.
I think you're
Uh,
right.
like I like the idea of being able to play Invisible Woman on 2 and then Patriot on 3 and have a nicer
Hmm.
curve. Having to play uh Patriot and then if you don't have Prio, you're invulnerable to Enchantress and then
Yeah, I
Invisible
think you're
Woman
just
is a
right.
good counter to Enchantress. Although I will say on that I have played a bit of Patriot and Polaris is a great counter to Invisible Woman, and that seems to be in all the Dark Oak decks too.
That's fair. That's fair. Eventually, something's gonna have to give with these decks not having enough space, though, right? Like they can't just keep running every good package in the game.
I mean, they've somehow because
Although
Shang-Chi was the highest usage rate according to SnapFan of any card. It had like a
in the whole game,
39.8 usage rate.
hmm yeah, I don't understand what's happening anymore. The game is just like power creep immediately. So
I almost think
whatever.
it's the Enchantress buff and the only big card being Darkhawk right now. I
Yeah,
think
I
it's the
could see that.
combination of those two things.
Well, when we get Shuri back in a week, don't say you weren't warned.
Oh yeah, sure he's dropping to Series 3 in a week, right?
Yes, she is.
Oh, I mean it doesn't affect me. I don't only face people who actually I've since the ladder change I have actually faced some lower collection level people.
Well,
Maybe I'll
get,
face more Shuri.
yeah, when you start seeing Shuri and like you're just like, I really wish I had a Shang to handle this 40 point whatever nonsense.
Yeah.
Don't forget. All right. That is our show because you have 2 minutes to stream. Tell our viewers where to find you quickly, and it'll
Find
again
me
be in
on
the
Twitch
description.
and on Twitter. I only do Twitch at the moment. I don't do any other kind of content. I don't do short form content or anything. But if I do, you'll find it. You'll find it on my Twitter as soon as it goes up. And yeah, the Twitter is probably the best place because you can also find my Twitch from there very easily.
Awesome. See everybody tomorrow. Thanks
Yeah.
for joining me.